Hey guys, Hippopotamus, and today I'll be bringing you an updated version of my active modifier cheese. This has become more important because we actually need to get 100,000 kills if we've got 4 characters. What I mean by that is for the active modifiers, as you complete them on each character, you need to get 5,000 kills for 5 levels in each, and this means 25,000 kills across all 5 modifiers, but they don't carry over to additional characters, meaning that if you have up to 4 characters, you're going to have to get 100,000 kills to do all of your modifiers to level 5, which is crazy. The second point I just need to quickly address before we go any further, I don't want to waste anybody's time, and there are some things that you're going to need if you're going to use this cheese. So the most important thing to tell you is that this is impossible if you don't have the turmoil knee pad. If you don't have the turmoil knee pad, then I'm really sorry. Maybe go check out my other method from the other day, or Skeleton Rogue also has a very good method with the oxidizer, and I'd highly recommend his method as well because it's also very, very good. Okay, so with that said, the other things to mention is that today I'm working with a script, so this video may get long, and to combat that and go tell you things that you already know, I'm going to timestamp the video in the comments after I post it after a couple of hours, and this should help you jump around. So if you have gone over any of these concepts or know some of this, please feel free just to jump around in the timestamps to find the things that you need. Also, one final thing is that yes, the sound is disabled. The reason why is because I don't want to listen to the Bullet King just shooting, or the guns that I'm going to use shooting over and over again, and it also helps me concentrate while I explain the concepts that I'm trying to get across to you. Okay, so with that, that's the intro done, and we're on to section 1, which is key points and requirements. So the things that I need you to understand is that this is a new AFK method that allows you to step away for 20 minutes, and also that we're trying to, it's just basically the methodology that I used to discover how to do it. So for anybody that's interested of how we got there, this is how I got there. Okay, so with the key points and requirements covered, I'm just going to move to section 2, and that brings us to the setup. So the main thing that I see a lot is a lot of people saying if you put it on higher difficulty you get more XP. I'm sorry to tell you, but that is completely incorrect, okay? The only thing that changes the amount of XP that you get towards your modifier count is the veterancy of the enemy. Difficulty does not count whatsoever, and the reason that we are using normal is because enemies to kill on normal are much easier than on heroic. Heroic enemies have a bigger health pool, and they also take less damage, so it's just, you know, more difficult to kill an enemy than it is on normal, and with the amount of kills affecting how quickly we can go through each rank, if we put this on heroic or challenging, this is going to take longer, okay? Believe me, I've tested it, and it is the fastest to do it on normal, okay? So with that point made, I'll go through another quick point with you. So if we're going to talk about the enemies, we're just going to talk about the difficulty of the enemies and what they're going to do for you. So a normal enemy is going to give you +1 to your count. A veteran enemy is going to give you +2. So if we've got 1, now we have 3, right? Because of that 2 veteran. A elite is going to give you +3. So if we are on 3 already and we kill a veteran, that's going to give us 6. Okay, and if we have a named enemy is going to give us +4. Okay, so with that said, that is how the enemies affect, and it is all based on the veterancy of the enemy. Okay, so the next thing to cover is how we set up the range, and this is for people that don't know, that may not have seen the first video or the other people's videos, and why we're going to do it. So for booth number 4, we're going to shoot this little number plate here, 25, and when you see the green light come on, it's going to mean that that enemy is fixed and they won't move. Every time that you kill them, they're going to stay at that place and they won't move further back and away out of our reach. For booth number 3, this time we're going to set the enemy as invulnerable, and we want it to be a health bar in this case if we're going to optimize, and I'll show you why in just a moment. We're also going to set the range to 5. Okay, so we want that one to be 5 meters away. For the next booth, which is booth 2, we are going to want to set this one as named because obviously that important +4. And you can set this to 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever you want. I just find that 10 works best, so if you want repeatable results, I would suggest that you put it on 10. And for booth 1, we're going to set this up as very hard. The reason for very hard is if we just skip through the difficulties here dead quick, you're going to see that on easy, we're going to get mostly reds. On medium, we're going to get mostly purples and reds. On hard, we're going to get a few elites and a couple of purples. And on very hard, we're going to get mostly elites and maybe a couple of purples or one normal enemy. Okay, so this is going to give us the most bang for our buck. Right, so with the range set up, I'm going to go through section 3, and that was the suggestion that was made. So before we start, big shout out to Campachi Wood 707. He made the suggestion that what he did was he used the Turmoil and the Bullet King, and he just hip fired at the target like so. Okay, and then just wrapped a rubber band around the controller, and then you can just do it AFK. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't fully allow us to walk AFK because there is a reason why this fails. Now, you can see that we're not actually hitting the target completely all the time, and eventually our ammo count is going to run down to 0. Now granted, this will last a little while, but we will need to keep running to the box every now and again to keep filling up, and you can see the point that I'm making, that this is eventually going to hit 0. Okay, so we're going to need to walk over and get some ammo. So this is not viable for stepping away for any sustainable amount of time. Okay, so the other thing I thought was, okay, well, what if we get in cover, because our accuracy is a lot better, and yes, I have tried the gloves. Now, just while we're on that, the way that I tried to improve this method was also to have weapon handling and stability, which I think is something that Kenpachi actually mentioned in his comments. So we have weapon handling rolled on our gear, and we also have the 3-piece of Fenris giving us stability here. We also have 3-piece of Zviadoka, which is 30% weapon handling, and also we have the Eagle's Grasp, which is 15% here. And then we have weapon handling rolled onto everything that we can have it rolled onto. Now, even with all that weapon handling and all that stability, if we just jam the trigger down, eventually you're going to see, look, we are slowly drifting to the right, and it's actually up and right, the recoil pattern on this weapon, and it takes us off the target. So this isn't a sustainable method either. So then that got me to thinking, okay, well, what if we aim down sight? So let's try that. Let's aim down sight and see what happens. And you can see, again, we are drifting up and to the right. So to walk away from the console is not viable because we need to keep correcting our aim every 3 to 5 seconds. So this is not really viable for us. Okay, so this is what brought us to other methods, and you can see that I've got a MK46 here. I consider this to be quite a stable LMG. We've got some stability rolled onto it anyway, and we've got stability pretty much everywhere on every single piece, just for the sake of reason, trying to get as much stability as possible. And we also have the talent of steady-handed, allowing us, if we hit the target 100 times, it's going to refill the magazine, allowing us to just keep shooting at it, basically, effectively. So this weapon is very, very stable, and we're nearly at the point where we can walk away from the controller, but you'll see that it's very slowly just moving up and to the right, and eventually this will move off the target. If we were to walk away for, say, 10-15 minutes, this is going to drift off the target, and eventually we're not going to be refilling our ammo. Okay, so this is an important concept. I'm just going to leave this on for a second so you can see that it is slowly drifting. And now all of a sudden, you know, we have to reload. Even though we're sat back to the middle, it's still not a sustainable method because we lose ammunition. Okay, but this is very, very close, and this is nearly at the peak of where I thought, you know, we could walk away. However, after some time, finding that the recoil on every weapon that I tried just wasn't going to work, I had to think a little bit outside the box, and this is where I came up with a new method. So moving on from section 4 to section 5, this is the solution. The solution is basically this, is that we have two guns here, and the main thing is that we need to be able to replenish ammo. So what else can do that for us? Well, very simply, if we use a hotshot build, hotshot, if you hit the target 3 times, recovers ammunition. So let's make a build with hotshot. Now I want to just say you can use 4 pieces and whatever you want, but you must have the turmoil. But this is the way that I've set mine up, just to optimize getting as much damage as possible based on what I've got. I will offer some suggestions though to help you work around it once we've gone over this. So the way that I've set mine up is that I just have 3 pieces of hotshot. I have the turmoil and the ninja bike, and then what I am using is the pristine example. The reason why I'm using the pristine example is just because of perfect focus, and this allows us to do a lot more damage when we're aimed in. You don't have to have this, but obviously this is just to min-max the strategy of doing the most damage possible during the time that we're going to be doing the headshots that we're doing. Alright, so that's the reason why. And the weapon that I am using is actually the commando. I wouldn't recommend you using the hand basket because of the fire rate, but if you can craft a SVD and then, you know, maybe set whatever talent you want on it, that's fine. But in this case, we said that we had an invulnerable enemy, right? And that's a health bar, an enemy with health. So hitting an enemy with no armor grants 50% headshot damage. So that's going to increase our damage on the target. Also, we have the VX1 scope. Now, personally, I would take the sharpshooter specialization because it's going to do 2 things for us. It's going to unlock this scope, which is going to give us the most damage, and if we're in cover, we're also going to recuperate lost ammunition for every so often that we're in there if we lose any ammunition, which generally we don't. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take the tightly packed marksman mag, which brings us up to 15 rounds, as a buffer zone in case we miss, and use stability everywhere else. So headshot on the scope, extra magazine, bullets, and then stability on the muzzle and grip. Okay. With this setup, this is going to allow us to be able to just sit there and spam fire. So what we do is we hop into cover and we can just aim at the head, and we can see that the recoil pattern on this gun is just pretty much up and down, to the point of if you put this at the center of the head, you can see that our ammunition has been refilled constantly. Every now and again we may drop down to very low, like 2 or 3 bullets just from bullet deviation, but most of the time this is reliable enough that we can tie 2 rubber bands around either trigger, around our aim and around our shoot, or on PC set a script up to do this for us, and we can just sit here and let this do this for us, and it's effectively going to do the method where we can walk away. Now this is going to take roughly 4 minutes to get 1,000 kills, and it's going to take roughly 20 minutes to get to 5,000 kills. So once that amount of time is gone, you can just set a timer on your phone, and then you're going to come back and you're just going to quickly switch your method here, and you're just going to go to the next active modifier, and then you're just going to simply put it back on, set the triggers again, and off you go for another 20 minutes. Now I used this method to get 75,000 kills for all 4 of my characters. Basically I had the first character which I used the other method for, and then I've used this to get 75,000 on the other 3, excuse me. So this is sustainable enough that you'll be able to walk away and do other things. Okay, so just remember that you can use a different SVD if you want, or another high fire rate weapon. I've not tried it with any of the others, so I would recommend the SVD, but as long as you can stay on the head and hit 3 shots consecutively, it's going to refill the magazine for you, and obviously we're going to be doing as much damage as we possibly can. Let's just see, you know, we're hitting for 1.3 million on a crit, which is going to be extremely useful, because we're hitting that health pool 1.7 million, 2.1, okay, which is going to help us kill the other enemies around. Okay, so I think I've pretty much gone through everything there. The only thing that we need to really just cover is that when you do have this set up, you can see that it's not quite optimal. You just want to be putting headshot mods into everything, okay? So we'll just put a headshot mod into there, and we'll just put a headshot mod into here dead quickly. Okay, let's see if we've got one that we can just steal. There we go, perfect. And now we should be hitting for even more damage, right? You know, we're talking like an extra 20-30%. So if we just sit and let this tick up, you know, we should be hitting for, there you go, 1.9. And this amount of damage with this fire rate is going to allow us to complete things much, much quicker, okay? So that's the reason why we've gone with what we've gone with. Okay, so that's gone on for long enough, so that's going to take me on to the final section, is just the outro. I just want to say, look, there's been a lot of controversy in the comments, people telling you to do it legit or do it whatever way. Look, my suggestion is you do it however you want to do. You do you. Look, you know, this isn't a glitch that's breaking PvP or upsetting anybody else's game. At the end of the day, if you haven't got the time to get 100,000 kills, I don't think anybody's going to blame you for using this method. But for those that want to do it legit, that is absolutely fine. I've got nothing against that. I don't hold anything against you wanting to do it legit, but some people don't have the time to do that. And that is why that I've spent the time to develop this cheese, because I know that this is helping people that have other obligations outside of video games. Alright? I just want to say thank you so much to everybody else that commented with the overwhelming amount of support. You're absolute legends, and I really appreciate everybody hopping in. That video got the most amount of views that I've ever had on my channel, and I just want to say for the last bit here, thank you so much for everything. Alright guys, hope you have a good day. I hope this helps you get the kills for all your characters, and I will see you in the next one.